Let's see if we're lucky and we can find that cross member easy enough.
Dad?
No, come in.
Oh, they're over there.
So we found it, but it's buried. I'll probably have to take the car out. Wasn't the easiest thing to find or get out, but we got it. For the exercise of getting the tail shaft lengths, I've put the stock one in. Geez, I wouldn't want to be doing a lot of hardcore driving with it though. Like everything from the front case back is all just pivoting. It's all just hanging. It's just overhang. So what we'll do is we'll set up the shafts. That pinion angle I don't think is going to be too bad. We'll work that out. So we've got from the floor to the center of the pinion nut on the diff is 465, and then to the rear disconnect 750. Rear tail shaft flange to flange 1150. Front tail shaft flange to flange 900. Both shafts sitting there in their right height. So what I mean by that is I've got enough slip for compression. So what are we looking at here? The rear is 1150 flange to flange. Let's see what we got. So we've got 1290 is basically what the flange to flange was before. So we got 1150 now. So we need to minus 140 mil off this tube. Now the front, what do we have? Flange to flange 900. I've got Tony Shire's tail shaft sitting there with the compression allowed. So we got a flange to flange here of 725. So we need 175 mil extended on that. So here we're going to add plus 175. Yeah, we're back over at the garage. I just had an idea. Right, the fortunes have turned. So the 1150 flange to flange, it rung a bell. The 4Runner. This is the spare shaft out of the 4Runner, and I've got 1130. Before we cut the main one down, I'll test this for length, and the one that's in the 4Runner now is a chromoly one. So, all right, I've sat it in there, and you know what? The length looks great. I've got perfect amount of compression. The only problem I'm thinking now is it may hit that cross member there where the wrap bar bracket bolts to. So I normally set them up with the slip join down the diff end to give that little bit more clearance. But if I potentially turn that around, the slip might be in the spot where we need the clearance. This is a 66 mil OD tube, so it's not a very thick wall. The one that's on the 4Runner now is about the same, but it's chromoly. Where I will struggle is with this big tube. This is my like 3/8 thickness wall. It's really thick and heavy, but it's also big diameter. So I'm not sure what's going to happen yet. It looks pretty good actually. I've turned it around. I've got a bit of clearance there, which I don't think we should hit. So what we lose in ground clearance, we gain here in clearance on the cross member. Going to be touch and go with the tail shaft angle. We worked out there that those heights with that length, we're looking at 19 degrees. So if we drop the back of the transfer around the 20 mil mark and rotate the diff back up 10 degrees, that will be working more along the lines of 14 degrees. But really it's only going to be a matter of getting it in and seeing what the unis can actually bind up to. I'll tell you what, Adam, that bar you put in, it's been a godsend for a sit-up, pull myself up with. And like Brian said in previous videos, I've been winging it for nearly 50 years now. Why stop? Why put pen to paper and do the geometry? Let's just go out and drive it. We get 2 or 3 drives out of this setup before we link the rear. I'll be happy. Speaking of Brian, let's have a look at his twin transfer case build.
Very exciting, lots to do today. It can't have been the disaster fairy, because nothing's broken. Leave a comment to decide if he deserves a discount, because I'm really excited about not having to clean out mountains of steel sawdust from the insides. Of course, it's not open yet, so nothing's guaranteed. So today we are going to pull this all apart. This is the one we built only a few months ago. This is the 4.7 Marlin crawler gears in here that we replaced the slightly damaged trail gear reduction gears with. We are going to convert this reduction case to a top shift. So there's our top shift parts there. That's the twin stick that we fabricated in a previous video. Top shift rails and forks. I have previously converted forward shift rails and forks to top shift, but we've got a set. This is much easier. Let's go this way. We're going to put a chrome moly front output shaft with the huge spline on. It's much fatter than the factory shaft and spline. And then in front of all that, we're going to have a Marlin crawler adapter. And these have improved a whole lot over the last few years. With another transfer reduction case, which is the factory 2.28 to 1 gears in there. Very exciting. Let's get started. We've had to do a little fine tuning of the clearances of our twin stick and the top shift rails. So you've seen a bit of that. We've put it all together just as a dummy fit up to make sure everything's nice and smooth. So that's in 2-wheel drive high there. So nothing's rubbing, no bad noises. Now the 2.4, the front drive shift was the big drama. So that's in the 2-wheel drive position there. I'm just eyeballing the V and the detent in the shift rod. So before we had the shift finger and the fork just touching that low range gear, the big gear on the 4.7. So that's in the 4-wheel drive position now with the front drive engaged, nice and smooth. So in low range, good. Let's check the high range detent. That's there. So at low range, that's low range. We were in high range before. So something's growling a little there. Shine a light in there and see how far off the detent we are. So that's dead center on the detent, and it's just barely clearing. So we put some paint on there, so where that's rubbed we should be able to see. So we'll pop that apart and have a look and just shave a little bit off whatever was touching. Okay, so we've taken the front drive case off and we're just searching for that little bit of clearance that we need that was causing that growl when we were in low range. This is a super hard shot to get. So what you're looking at there is the shift rail and the shift finger on the lever. So as I move that into low range, you can see that lever come up. It's sort of obscured by the gear tooth there, but if we turn that, you can just see the bottom of the shift finger and the gear there. So if we lift that low range output gear out, so where that contact is right on the end of the shift finger, just down here. So we'll whip that out and see if there's an actual mark there. We only need to polish off a tiny bit. You can see where that paint's been rubbed off, just on this corner here. So we just need to polish off a tiny bit. Once it's installed, I think it might have been clear, because we don't have the detent springs and balls in there. We're not sure exactly where it stops, but it was going to be close. So we'll just polish a tiny bit off there. Okay, so we've ground that off, tidied it up, put it back together, and now we are 100% confident that there's going to be no contact there, no nasty growls, no nasty noises, and that'll actually clearance up a little bit more when we put this together with the gasket in the final assembly. So we are now all good to put it together. So this is the risk of custom building parts like our twin stick. You never know it's going to work until you put it together, and there's always a bit of fiddling and playing to get it exactly right. Custom means it doesn't fit.
So the modification needed in the front case is the high-low rail is modified to shut the gate. So the front case now needs to not be able to go into two-wheel drive. He's modified the rail to close the gate so that the front shift cannot go into two-wheel drive anymore. Just going to interrupt Brian there a second. You see your conventional transfer case behind the 5-speed. We've got high 2, high 4, neutral, low range. The front case in this setup does not have that high 2 option. Cannot have it. It's all going to be in the back here. I'm going to have the twin lever where I'm going to be able to choose. Massive thanks to Brian again for a great job. Jacob, thank you for helping your dad. I've got heaps more footage of this build, which I might use in some upcoming videos. Next episode, we cut another hole in Paul Bullett's floor. We get all the levers in and working. Adam gets a very early visit from the disaster fairy. Dropping off the tail shafts, he'll be extending the front one and shortening the rear. Also gets bombed too by a couple of stickers. But it's okay, mate. I've still got some for the patrols. We get the Penrite 8140 liquid gold in it, and we get Bullet out for a little bit of sun. Not long now before we're out driving this in the bush. And as always, thanks for watching.